What's up, guys? Our wrestling podcast back at you with another episode. This is Dave Vicious along with Jess, the Total Package, Craig, the British Bulldog, Cuz is off this week, bringing you our perspective on the world of professional wrestling.
I love that. When you say that, it's like chocolate candy.
Chocolate candy. No inside sources, no ties to the industry, just stories from the diehards, sharing opinions with you. Can someone feed me today's topic?
Look at it. Look at it.
Bang! Bang! I love it.
DDP!
Doing a little legacy here, ladies and gentlemen, on the DDPers. Give our audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcasts, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. On social media, give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019. We'd really like it if you did, or at Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. Craig, how you doing?
I'm doing well. I'm excited about this. Did some research on a certain Diamond Dallas Page. A great doc on the network about him. Positively Page. I'm excited to talk about what a human being he is and all his like intangibles, and the dude who started when he was 35, and you just track his career based on when he was born and the years that he accomplished what he accomplished. And anyone that ever talked to him would say that he was driven to succeed however roadblocks you put in front of him. So what an amazing guy. He'll never be on Mount Rushmore, but it does not matter. Like, he gives hope to old dudes like us that maybe
he might be
started too late or wanted to wrestle. Like, he's an incredible guy, and what a career and legacy.
He might be on
around a while.
The Mount Rushmore after wrestling, just the after wrestling success of some. He might be in that top four. Because I think he saved lives, Jess. I don't know if you want to expand on that a little bit.
No, I do agree on that. I will expand on the end. I know you need to jump into this, and I don't mean to, but I agree with you 100%. I agree with both of you. That's why we're doing this. So, Dave, jump the fuck in there, and then I will talk about him at the end.
Let's get into some early life. Paige Joseph Falkenberg, that is not a joke, was born on April 5th, 1956. He is 65 years old. In Pleasant, New Jersey, he attended St. Joseph's
Point
High
Pleasant,
School.
New Jersey, Dave. That's the only error in there. It's Point Pleasant.
Point Pleasant?
Oh, yeah. I didn't even see that in my notes. So
there you go.
Fuck you.
Whoa! he attended.
Fuck you, copyright.
Here we go. He did St. Joseph's High School in Toms River, New Jersey, for his freshman and second years, spending his first season on the JV basketball team, making the varsity squad as a sophomore. He was pretty tall. He transferred to Point Pleasant Borough High School in Point Pleasant, sounds about right, where he was a star basketball player, excuse my phone falling, with the Point Pleasant Borough High School Panthers. He attended Coastal Carolina University and South Carolina briefly before leaving school to work full-time. Thanks for those tongue twisters, Jess. I really appreciate how you get us started. He ran a successful nightclub called in the mid-'80s called Norma Jeans in Fort Myers,
He was
Florida.
6'5". DDP was 6'5".
6'5".
Yeah. Big boy.
It was there that a lot of local wrestlers would frequent this nightclub. He would make many contacts in the wrestling business. Did we jump into?
There was a couple of. If you watch the documentary, I'm sorry, Dave.
Yeah,
that's so funny. I'm slowing it down right away, but it's
you're
important, like, to do his back. He grew up in New Jersey in like an idyllic suburb. Mom was tough, alcoholic father. Got into an accident.
They got divorced, right?
Yeah,
his parents got divorced.
Got into an accident where he was flown like across the road. Had bad knees, so he couldn't chase his football career when he was early. And he kind of goes about these things and talks about like already the beginning of his resilience and his hustle. Like, it didn't matter that he had wrecked knees and couldn't do contact sports, and somehow he managed to be able to do basketball, but he always kind of wanted to do wrestling. And then in his high school and after that, he was always a talker. He was always charismatic. And before Norma Jeans, he was a nightclub guy in New Jersey, always made a lot of money as a bartender. And you can just completely see that from the rest of his early career. Like,
he wanted to make money. He was like an entrepreneur. Like, he wanted the next thing. What do I do next?
Yeah.
What do I do next?
Yeah.
In hindsight, it's not surprising at all.
Right.
Jumping into that early wrestling career from 88 to 91, he started managing for the AWA in 1998, where he managed Bad Company. I'm sorry, 1988. Excuse me. It's getting a little. Let me pop that back. Where he
the one listener we have, Dave, will call you out on your shit.
Yeah.
Did you say 1888?
I'm terrible. That's terrible.
Was he like Martin Van
Your mom will
Buren?
call us out on our shit.
Yeah, she's like, that's not right, dude.
That's bullshit. He started in 88.
He's no
Just
way
as
he's
fucked
that
in
old.
past tense.
He says it a lot.
One of the many diamond dogs. Been down deep in my diamond mines, don't you know? Working real hard, but it ain't been all work, has it, fellas? That's right. That's right, Daddy. It's been a lot of pleasure going on there, too. Limousines, Learjets, parties with Bon Jovi, Motley Crue. It don't matter. We're having a good time, but we've been working hard. And speaking of working hard, I mean, what's with these midnight rockers? You know, I'm trying to handle a lot of different affairs for the boys here, and these midnight rockers won't get off the phone. I'm not going to sign a deal with you. Get it through your head. What, did Janetti get brain damage when he banged his head? What's with them boys?
She'll love this, by the way, that we say this stuff when she's getting accolades on it. She'll be like, you guys are talking about me on the podcast.
I love you. Tell him to call me.
You guys are... tell Jess to call me. Shit. Yeah.
Stop being a dick.
That's shit. It led Bad Company, which is Paul Diamond and Pat Tanaka, to the AWA Tag Team titles on March 19th, 1988. His manager name became Diamond Dallas Page. He would call everything the Diamond something.
Heads up,
yeah, that's when he developed the Diamond Dolls.
He was 32. He was 32 years old in 1988. A lot of wrestlers came to his his thing, and Bushwhacker Luke was one of his buddies. There was a bunch of wrestlers, and that's kind of how he got his start.
He was, yeah. I'm glad you filled that in, Craig, because like my notes, I tried to just be spacey with them so we can move this along. However, you're right. Along this time, he was making a lot of wrestling contact friends, like even before he joined AWA. So that's important because DDP name drops all the time. I called so-and-so like during this time. And I'm like, oh yeah, you just called that person, like Jake Roberts or whoever. Yeah, just throwing names around. Like, you know,
I called The Rock before he was The Rock.
Yeah, dude, he fucking DDP networked with everybody. He's that kind of guy. He asked questions. He wasn't shy. He didn't care. He would just talk to anybody who would be like, oh, yeah, you got some information for me? Yeah, tell me about that so I can learn. He's amazing. He's amazing.
He's in Fort Myers, Florida, running nightclubs. Like, he's going to meet shitty professional wrestlers and make relationships.
Yeah.
And he's 6'5", 275 plus. Like, he's born to do it, and he's a talker. And
but he was older. You know what I mean?
Yeah. In media. He was born 25 years old.
There it is. There it is. He started the
Congratulations, Mr. and Mrs. Page. You have a 12-year-old
healthy
son.
25
Let me tell you something, rock and roll. I'm the baddest redhead you ever got. Diamond Dallas Page. I need a titty. I'm gonna put my arm on a titty. I need some
Goo gaga,
or else I'll die.
I think I shit my diaper. Good God.
Speaking of calling everything the Diamond something, he started the Diamond Exchange stable and managed Kurt Hennig, Medusa,
I need a diamond nipple because I'm 25. I just came out, but I have no sustenance. I need a mother.
Page also worked for the Florida Championship.
I know. I do it. I knew you were going to call him a superstar.
For the Florida Championship Wrestling as a color commentator alongside of Gordon Soley.
Yeah, he commentated next to Gordon Soley. Like, are you kidding me right now?
Please get this.
If you say Jim Ross and Gordon Soley is right there, like, because Jim Ross loves Gordon Soley. So if you ask Jim Ross, who's the greatest commentator of all time, he'll say Gordon Soley. If you ask me, I'll say Jim Ross all day long. And yes, I know who Gordon Soley is. That's what I would say. No disrespect against Gordon. Jim Ross is the best. But Gordon was the guy that inspired people like Jim Ross. So
here
DP got to commentate with him. It's amazing.
Very, very cool stuff. At Florida Championship Wrestling is where he made his actual in-ring wrestling debut in May of 1989 against Dick Slater. In 1990, Page auditioned for the announcer with the WWF, but he did not get that job. However, he did get
And before you do that, I'm just going to quickly say that his big Florida Championship Wrestling mentor and moment was Dusty Rhodes, who was in a transitional period between NWA and WWF before the polka dots.
Yeah,
so
Dusty
Florida
would
Championship
go to Florida.
Wrestling.
For some reason, Dusty and Florida meshed, so Dusty would go there.
So he's the one who said, I'm going to work with you, brother. And then Dusty was his first kind of mentor that taught him to get it done. And then as you're about to go into the WWF piece here, and when he failed.
And that's the connection, right? So on April 1st of 1990, Diamond Dallas Page got to drive his pink Cadillac into the ring for the WWF pay-per-view as part of
WrestleMania 6.
Because Bushwhacker Luke set that up for him. Bushwhacker Luke said, There, hey, mate, they're looking. And then he licked his forehead.
And this was as a part of the rhythm.
No, he didn't. He
blues.
said, brother, because you're going to do Stupid Totally.
As a part of the rhythm and blues.
Yeah, he's Bushwhacker Billy Graham.
Don't forget, this is Honky and
Greg Valentine.
Greg the Hammer Valentine has rhythm and blues.
Who?
So nobody knew that if you go back and watch WrestleMania 6, the person driving the pink Cadillac that took Jimmy Hart, got Greg Valentine Honky to the ring was DDP, and it was his Cadillac.
And I heard he drove it all the way up there, according to some.
Yeah, there is something to say about, despite all your hustles, despite your grind, it's all who you know.
It's true.
So
it's very true.
He's a dude that ran a nightclub.
And you have to take advantage of those connections when you're fucking in your 30s trying to start out as a pro wrestler. Yeah,
that's life. Yep. And he always said he wanted to be a professional wrestler. He was the AWA manager first. He could talk before he even attempted a hip toss, but good for him. That's what you have to do. It's luck plus hustle plus networking equals opportunity. Always.
Yes.
He's the living embodiment of it.
Yeah. The definition of luck is hard work meeting opportunity. And I think there's no harder worker in the business or predisposed to the business than DDP. That's why he's created these opportunities for himself over the years.
I'm Bushwhacker Luke, brother. My brother. I'm from New Zealand, brother. Triple man. God damn it, Dave. I lick children's foreheads, brother.
Ignore us, Dave. Plow on.
1991 to 2001
began the
WCW career of Diamond Dallas Page. She came into WCW as a manager in early
go like this, my arm.
To the fabulous Freebirds.
Because I'm a superstar, Billy Graham.
February 24th of 1991, the Freebirds defeated Doom to win the WCW Tag Team titles, and then Page would reintroduce the Diamond Exchange stable and also manage a debuting.
I just want to say that I also ruined my laptop for this episode, Dave.
I'm Diamond Stud.
You take a guy like the Z-Man, a great athlete. I came down there with a stud just to give him a little of my professional advice. People pay big money for that advice, and he didn't want it. He put his hands on me. He never should have put his hands on Diamond Dallas Page, because this man right here, 6 foot.
I'm allowed to be funny in this episode because I spilled
Don't tell anybody.
all over my laptop. So this is my second laptop.
You just incriminated yourself to your boss.
Nope, didn't say what laptop it was.
Who listens to the podcast religiously. I know that for a fact.
I'm going to be funny and wacky because I've ruined my laptop and used my personal laptop for my second backup laptop for this episode. Thank you.
Yeah, brother. Craig has now gone through 2 laptops on this.
So Dave is in WCW and he's managing now the Diamond Stud.
Yeah, and he's working with Eric Bischoff as an announcer as well, which is kind of cool.
That will come back to help him because Scott Hall actually came to him.
Craig, I write that here.
Scott Hall came and said, "Hey, help me. You're taller than everyone you help manage. I'm taller than you. Help me, brother." Brother, Scott Hall, raise the remote, brother. Super big man, brother. You help me, I'll be the Diamond Stud, brother.
Brother, it's so crazy. While Bischoff was not executive producer, that was still 2 years away. He did have the ear of Dusty Rhodes, who, along with Buddy Lee Parker and the Masked Assassin, ran the WCW training facility, later known as the Power Plant. Yeah, Craig, how guilty are you about the Masked Assassin at this point, Craig? You must feel really bad about yourself. Go back to the archives.
Oh, man.
Yep.
Dave, I'm glad you brought this up. I want to apologize to all the Masked Assassin fans that were out there that heard my disrespectful comments before. I knew that he had passed away. I just want to say my apologies to Masked Assassin's family and friends. And let's continue.
Well, I mean, wearing the mask is ridiculous.
I'll learn from this.
He was a heavy man and his neck fat came out through the mask.
Yeah. Oh, no. I'm sorry. I forgive me. Yeah, he was a big fat piece of shit.
Oh my God, he wasn't a piece of shit. I didn't say that.
And
I just said that his neck fat physically came out from under his mask. He wasn't a piece of shit. I never.
I think despite his training of some wrestlers,
I disagree with Craig. I heard he was a very kind man in the back, and he helped a lot of people out. That's what I heard.
Yes, and his neck fat came out from his mask.
Bischoff put Page over as a positive, hardworking student. Bischoff put Page over as a positive, hardworking student. But one major thing that hurt his chances, he was 35 years old, looking to break into pro wrestling. Even when booked, he was a lower mid-card at best. On his off days, he would go into the Power Plant on his own dime to get better.
Hitting his opponent from the Jersey Shore, 249 pounds, Diamond Dallas Page. Fans, very quick note on the wrestling hotline. We'll tell you why Paul E. Dangerous has been barred from the arena tomorrow night at the pay-per-view. We'll talk about another unfortunate...
That, I'm going to stop right there.
Okay,
that's amazing. He would literally, on the days that he didn't get booked in WCW, it's Craig hitting
Go to the power plant.
Craig hitting his pen. So I don't know why that makes you laugh. So yes, he would go in on his own dime. When he wasn't booked, he would go to Florida on his own dime and go to the power plant to learn his craft. That legitly, all joking aside, it's amazing that he did that. It's amazing. It's how you get better at shit.
Yeah.
Anyone that ever talks about DDP says his dedication, whether it was after the car accident when he was a kid, shooting baskets in his driveway for 3 hours a night, it didn't matter. Like, he set a goal and he did it. So whether he picked up,
he's 35 years old, by the way, trying to break into pro wrestling. Like,
he already had a great nightclub business. Why leave New Jersey or wherever he was? Like, he went to Atlanta, he went to Florida. He was not afraid to just take the risk and follow his heart and follow his gut and know whatever he's going to do and to be positive. Like, and that just like, it keeps moving towards every moment from this point forward in this podcast. But like, we should all like take a lessons from fucking DDP, by the way.
We truly should. It's not even
just about life, bro. Just about
it's not even
breaking your
comment.
laptop and spilling alcohol on it.
he might have done the same. Unfortunately, in late '92, Page did tear his rotator cuff during a match. He was seen as expendable by WCW, and that's understandable. Was let go a short time later. But during that rehab period, he reached out to Jake the Snake Roberts and asked for advice. Just a little bit of a name drop.
And he was married to Kimberly here. I think, I forget what year it was. It was during the nightclub era, but like he was married to Kimberly before like the hottest ever Kimberly. So
yeah. And he asked for advice from Jake on a return to the ring and his character development. Probably not a bad person to reach out to if he's awake. He would return with his then wife Kimberly to WCW in 1994.
Say that again, Dave. Sorry.
What?
Read that again. Sorry. Because it's important.
I said during his rehab, he reached out to Jake Roberts and asked for advice on a return to the ring and character development. I said, which is probably a good move, provided that Jake the Snake.
No, I knew that. Away. I mean the Kimberly thing because we mentioned.
He would then return with his wife Kimberly to WCW in 1994. He was still used as a slower mid card, but he did see an increase in TV time and pay-per-view time with feuds against David Sullivan for the remainder of 1994. I am so sorry about that, DDP. Huh?
They said the only thing I can add to this is they said he when he was at the power plant, he would ice his body. And like in this documentary on the
whole tub ice or what?
On the network, Triple H and Stone Cold said like he was ahead of the curve and like as a 35-year-old guy, like or 37-year-old guy in the power plant and icing his body, whereas no one else did. He always took care of his body more than anyone else. Even
Stone Cold, a funny story too, in Stone Cold's book, he used to room with DDP in WCW. And so DDP was known for coming back to the room. He would tape like heavy ice packs to his elbows, his knees, everything. And he would get into bed and sit there for a while he iced. So a fan baked them cookies, and Mick Foley that night decided to sleep on the floor with DDP and Steve Austin in their room and split because each guy would just pay $10. You know what I mean? But they're all trying to be cheap and save money.
Yeah.
So they all slept in there. Mick Foley on the floor. And so they knew Foley and Austin got the cookies from the fan and dumped them in the sheets because DDP would pay a little bit more money to sleep in the bed because he's like, I gotta sleep in my bed because of my joints and I'm older. So they would put the cookies under the bed sheets. And so they said they watched DDP. He would rub icy hot and all this shit. He would tape all the ice packs to his knees and elbows. And then they'd be like, all right, buddy, good night. And Austin would be sleeping on the couch and Foley would be sleeping on the floor. And they would hear DDP get in bed and he gets in soaked and he's like, you guys are fucking ridiculous. And like, it's because he would wake up in the middle of the night and the cookies were all over the bed. So they would have fun with DDP. But honestly,
that's a great rib.
The joke's on them in the sense that DDP, like Craig said, he was older. He had to do that shit. He was ahead of the curve. Like icing, and all athletes now getting the ice baths, right? That's all they do.
And of those three, who's in the best physical shape? Who has the most mobility right now? It's DDP.
DDP. He can fucking put his legs over his head, like
he's 65 years old and he looks amazing. He's had work done. He's had Botox, but like he moves better than any wrestler you've ever known or anyone in the business at 65, or 55. Unbelievable.
Yeah. With Kimberly as his diamond doll and Max Muscle as his bodyguard, he was able to stay relevant and win the WCW television title from the Renegade. God, I hate.
That's fine. Whatever ends the Renegade
at WCW Fall Brawl. Thank you, GD, for ending that reign in 1995 in September. He would eventually lose that belt to Johnny B. Bad, but was gaining valuable ring time. And his next notable achievement was winning the Battle Bowl ring at Slamboree 1996. It would incorporate into his character and continue to keep him on the cards. It was during this time he developed the Diamond Cutter as his finisher and had an on-screen split with Kimberly. He was still a heel, and he was wrestling solo here. He would begin his first notable feud in late 96 with Eddie Guerrero, not a bad beat, having a pay-per-view match at WCW Halloween Havoc in 1996, and meeting Guerrero in the tournament finals for the vacant U.S. Championship a few weeks later. During the tournament,
this starts his career. So I remember,
thank you, Eddie.
fan,
thank you again, Eddie. Appreciate you. Love you.
I remember as a fan enjoying that feud with Eddie. We were there live. Craig and I were with a couple other friends at Halloween Havoc 96, and we saw DDP and Eddie. We got a chance to meet Eddie afterwards at the bar, and he was amazing. And he was still selling his injury because he's a fucking pro. And I remember that match with DDP. They clicked really well together. And DDP, at the time, you didn't know how good he was at trying to adapt to wrestling. We didn't know the DDP that we know now. How studious he was. How he would learn his craft. How he fucking every night would go back to the hotel. He would ice himself down. He would study tapes or whatever. We didn't know that. We just felt that he was getting better. And then being put in a feud here with Guerrero, which we didn't even know how big Guerrero would come at this point because it was 1996. But we all liked Guerrero as wrestling fans because we just saw something in him. I saw something in him. I'm not trying to take credit. I'm saying when I first saw Guerrero, his footwork and his movement, I was like, God damn, this guy's really fucking good. Like, he's so good. And so to watch DDP have to learn from a guy, Guerrero, who was younger than him, is pretty amazing. But take that in, absorb it. This what Dave's going to get into right now just started to define his career. This is part of DDP's meteoric rise where so many people talk about Sting and Flair because Flair only left WCW for like a year in WWF, which he did a lot of shit in WWF when he went in that year. But everybody who's WCW, who represents WCW, people are going to say Sting or Flair. That's it. Like that's what I'm going to say. DDP was only WCW until WCW got bought out, until they went out of business. DDP, to me, is one of the most original WCW guys ever. Like Dave is going to read on. We are going to embark on this journey of his where he finally breaks into the upper echelon of pro wrestling at his age.
Top of the card, man.
Yeah, top of the card, studying as hard as he did. It began with the feud here with Eddie Guerrero, and Dave's going to read on. It just explodes like a few minutes later.
Tonight, just the fact that we know Hulk Hogan and the frog splash on the top. 1, 2, 3. He got it. Eddie Guerrero wins the ring.
Yes, he does.
Eddie Guerrero wins the Battle Bowl ring. He is your winner. In what's going to be considered a major upset, Eddie gets his first title. He's the Battle Bowl champion. And he wants to shake his hand. Yeah, watch out, Eddie. Diamond cutter. Diamond cutter.
A few minutes later. It's
During
crazy.
the tournament, Hall and Nash would come to ringside and assist DDP to victory. They would strongly hint at wanting Page and the NWO. That's how you know you've made it, ladies and gentlemen. Page would shrug them off and claim there was no alliance between them. Feeling that Page was being ungrateful, Hall and Nash caused DDP to lose to Guerrero in those finals. In a July 1997 edition of Nitro, Hall and Nash came...
January.
What did I say, July? God, I'm terrible.
Yeah. So no, it's not your fault. I'm just the one person will get upset.
on a January, I almost did it again. On a January 97 edition of Nitro, Hall and Nash came down during a DDP match and offered him a spot in the NWO. They explained, why they cost Page the U.S. title to Guerrero, and that it was to show Page that anyone against the NWO would struggle. Hall gave Page an NWO shirt and once again offered him a spot. Page accepted and shook Hall's hand. On the handshake release, DDP pulled Hall into a diamond cutter, and the crowd absolutely exploded. Nash would charge DDP, but he would duck, sending Nash over the top rope. In an iconic moment, Page went into the crowd, and directly in the hard camera shot, he tore off the NWO shirt. The impact of this moment changed DDP's career forever.
I cannot stress, as a fan, when I watch this is how you make. So a lot of people will be like, oh, in wrestling school, I watched Ricky Steamboat or Bobby Eaton, rest his soul, or Arn Anderson or whatever like that. And that's all good. You should do that. You should watch those guys as their movements. You should watch Eddie Guerrero, Chris Benoit. Like, you should watch all Bret Hart.
When it comes to character development.
But, dude, like, this is a perfect example of when you have a cool bad guy faction that was getting cheered, and they were having hard because they were trying to put corny good guys against them. And everyone's like, fuck, dude, NWO is cool. I'm not going to boo them. Then you have a guy that tells the NWO, has nothing else going for him. And then when they go to, like, court him in, he turns on them and says, I don't want to join your fucking tribe. I'm my own guy. Instantly, I will never forget this moment and the lawsuit, because when Nash fell over the top rope, he grabbed onto a table and fell over with it and fucking hit every person in the front row, by the way, with the metal legs of the table. And there was a legit lawsuit in WCW.
I don't remember that. Craig, did you remember that?
If you go back and watch it, like this tape, Nash fucking falls over the top rope, lands on the table, forced himself to grab the table because he wanted to be Mr. fucking Cell, because he had Shawn Michaels blood in him at that time, and fell over and pulled the fucking table over, and it hit everybody in the front row. It's ridiculous, like, what he did. So WCW got some people in the front row, by the way, got money from WCW on that.
Good.
So, this is beautiful. Look at that. Yes! Oh, yes! That looks great! Yes! It's a fish. Hey! No, I can't believe what I'm seeing. You just made a big mistake, Dallas. No! Man is out of his mind! I don't care. I can't believe it.
Good on him.
But this moment, like, go back and watch this moment. I am telling you right now, like, this is Wrestling 101. This made him a star. This is how do NWO is getting cheered. We didn't know how to get people over. Well, watch what you did. Watch what you did with DDP. Like, the whole time DDP was like a heel. Then about 2 months before, he started softening. And then when Hall and Nash were like, hey, man, we were helping you out. We don't feel you were grateful. First of all, that's a heel move. We were helping you out and you feel grateful. Hey, guys, I just want to do this on my own. I don't need you to help me. Thank you for helping me, but I don't need it or whatever. Oh, really? So they cost him the match against Eddie Guerrero. Then they come out later and go, hey, we showed you right now how we can cost you shit. So
when
you join us or what? He was like, no. And he said yes, and then pulled him in with his signature move, the diamond cutter that he'd been working on, that people started to pop with, because it was an awesome move out of nowhere. He hits Hall. The place goes nuts. He gets in the crowd, rips the shirt, and is like, fuck you. They instantly made a fucking hero. That's amazing. That's how you get over against a cool faction that everybody's cheering, is you say, I don't need you. And you outsmart them. You outsmart them, and you fucking, it's amazing. It's awesome. This moment is fucking awesome. It made his career. This started
the closest thing that I can imagine to that we saw live, Jess. I don't know if Greg was there, but when Cena tore into the crowd and he was on his push, like his first push. I don't know if we're talking about.
Well, it was late. It's way later. Yeah, but
no, it's way later. I get it, but like I'm like, this is the closest thing I can touch to it.
I want to say it was 04 or 05.
Yeah,
probably 04.
Yeah, and Cena was on that title run. We knew he was on the way. He was being pushed really hard, and he came into the crowd, and the crowd, and he got about probably 6 rows from us. And I've never felt more electric to see someone on their push and see, like, knowing that they were destined for great things. I could probably guess that it was 100 times magnified when that happened with DDP at that moment with the NWO. It had to be.
I will never forget when he stood in front of the crowd. He stood in the middle, and I think they were in a dome that week on Nitro, so they probably had like 30,000 people there. And he stood in the middle of that crowd. he put the diamond symbol up and then he ripped the shirt off, and it was amazing. Like the place went fucking crazy after he just diamond cuttered Scott Hall, who Nash and Hall were hot as fuck from the NWO. It was this is how you make faces against cool heels, which they still struggle with to this day. And I'm like, dude, don't make them rely on the heels. Make them tell the heels, fuck you. I'm better than you. I don't need you. That's how you build the big heel, or that's how you build the big face. Sorry, go ahead, Craig.
Yeah. And again, in the way this business works, that had not happened, and we talked about it earlier. Scott Hall talks about it in the documentary. He let it happen and made it happen because of Diamond Dallas Page move in AWA when he allowed Scott Hall to be his manager as Diamond Stud.
Right, they were friends.
So basically, it was his payback. And
he was a neighbor to Eric Bischoff on top of that. But you're right, Craig. He did owe Hall a payback.
So it's this, like, it's kismet. You have to have the Scott Hall do it. You have to have NWA approve it. And for the vouch and for the relationship that he did for Diamond Stud and the move he made for Scott Hall in his very beginning. And that was all evidence of.
And a story on Bischoff's podcast, by the way. Bischoff didn't see it. Bischoff didn't want to push DDP because they were legit neighbors. So Bischoff thought if he pushed DDP, he would get more pushback from the locker room. Hall and Nash sat him down, and they were trying to convince him. And one day, they did Nitro, and they went to a bar afterwards, and they watched DDP do a diamond cutter. It was when he was doing the whole thing, a diamond cutter out of nowhere, and he hit someone with it, and the crowd popped. And Bischoff looked at Hall and Nash and said, "So DDP's over." And Hall and Nash looked at him like, yeah, we were fucking trying to tell you that like the whole time. Like, put time in him. And that's when they decided to go ahead and do this, because Bischoff finally said, you know what? I'm going to push him because, you know what? He's fucking over. It's not about him being my neighbor. He's over.
Yeah.
He earned every bit of it, man. After that, DDP became the face the crowd cheered for. He would attack the NWO before they ever got a chance to get to him. Soon after, Page began a feud with the recent NWO recruit Macho Man Randy Savage. On an episode of Nitro, Savage, aided by Scott Hall and Nash, attacked Page and spray painted NWO on his back. That's, again, how you know you made it. A few weeks later at Uncensored, Savage and Miss Elizabeth broke, which was a work shoot, by revealing to the world that Page and Kimberly were, in fact, still married. Savage then proceeded to beat up Page, ensuring a future match between the two.
So this set up their Spring Stampede 1997 main event, by the way. And let me tell you a story that I didn't write here on the notes. So they were touring on house shows before that to feel each other out. And Savage would win every night. And then Arn Anderson at this point was kind of like the road agent. We call him road agents now, but I don't know what he was called back then, but he was more of the road agent. So on the last night of the tour, Arn came in and said, "Hey, Savage, what do you want to do? Same old stuff?" And Savage looked at him. DDP was half paying attention. He was getting his boots on or whatever and getting his knee pads on. And then he heard Savage look at Anderson. He goes, "I think tonight I take the diamond cutter." And I go, DDP goes over. And he said he looks up and he's like, "What?" And Anderson grabbed Savage by the wrist and looked at him in the face and said, "Are you sure you want to do this?" And he goes, "I do." And that was it. He was like, "Okay." And so they go out there and they did their normal match, and it tore the house down. Everybody was like into it. And then they changed the ending where Savage fell into the diamond cutter. And then on the ground, Savage looked at DDP and just said, "Hey, don't cover me right away. Wait a second, milk this." And and DDP got up and kind of crawled over and put one arm over Savage. And the ref goes, 1, 2. And so the crowd's expecting him to kick out, and 3. And then DDP thought, "Oh my God, this is not going to work." And he said like a second later, the crowd went insane.
Because they didn't believe it for a second.
Yeah. Then he said the next day, Savage goes into Bischoff's office and says, "Hey, at the pay-per-view, DDP's going over."
He hooked him, boys! He hooked him! That's it! That's it! This place has erupted. Everyone is standing. Savage, when you thought he had Diamond Dallas had Savage. And look at Nick Patrick.
The pressure's on him right now, Brain. He knows he's not going to get up.
Come on, Patrick.
Count him. Go ahead. You better count.
Come on. 1, 2, 3. He got him. He got him. Is this Patrick back or what?
And Bischoff goes, okay, sounds good. And that's all Savage needed to know, that this guy, he can do it. With the crowd will believe that he could beat me and all that stuff. And Savage made the DDP's career even more than the turn on Scott Hall here. It's so amazing. So people could say, oh, he's Bischoff's neighbor or whatever. He earned it. You don't get legends like Savage and Hall to be like, dude, no, put this guy's fucking overdo it. Like, if he didn't really earn it. They knew it. They knew the pop that the Diamond Cutter was getting. They knew everything. And Savage, it took Savage to be like, no, let's try it on a house show. He's going over. And people were like, well, okay. Like, and it went perfect. And he's like, yeah, so on the pay-per-view, he's going to go over on top of me. And it would be the only victory, by the way, on pay-per-view that he would get against Savage. But that first victory made him a star. And it's so important. This feud with Savage, not only so good, all their matches are so good. Go back and watch all of them. Yeah. It's so good, man. And Savage just being the legend that he is, and everybody knows how we feel about him. And I miss him. And Savage is fantastic. And this is wrestling art, people. This is fucking beautiful.
I do miss
Craig. I think you want to say something, Craig. Go
ahead. No. All I want to say is that that's absolutely true. It's like this was the feud that put him into the top tier, and where he would be untouchable from this point forward. He was DDP at the Apex, and
how many
Scott Hall that gave him the chance, but it was
how many people at this moment at this time?
It was Savage made him. Savage made him.
To your point, Greg, how many people have defeated Randy Savage clean to this moment? I mean, I know later on
Hogan, and that's it.
Yeah, Hogan. Savage had made a lot of people.
Hogan Warrior, right? I mean, Hogan Warrior. And,
yeah. It's basically
Steamboat,
it's the perfect example of someone just giving them their spot. Like Savage had a spot, but he was fighting for it and always did. And he was the guy that lost to Flair and Hogan. He was definitely second tier compared to those guys. But like for Savage, then even at this point, to just kind of give it up to DDP in a small way. He's not giving up his full spot, but like he says, okay, I tested this in the house show circuit. I let him do it on the pay-per-view. I made the right decision. Like always best for business. Like, but
that's the deal.
This Savage feud is what made
how
DDP.
Am I going to make more money here? Like, seriously.
Right. How can I get this feud to go on for another 4 months, 5 months?
Yeah.
And really put it over. And it makes sense for me to give it up, because the crowd is clamoring for it, and when they see it, they're going to buy more tickets. And I think Savage understands that more than most people at that time. Like everyone else, like I got this clause.
And back here, people don't really realize too that with Hogan on a limited contract, Hogan was only on the big pay-per-views. So on the Spring Stampedes and the Slamborees,
Savage started the guy carrying it.
Yeah, they started putting like people like Savage and DDP in the main events on those. So those were carrying those pay-per-views. So it's important. Savage knew the importance to look. It's cool when everybody else joins NWO. They get that NWO pop because it's like that NWO rub. But you got to make other guys. You got to make people want to go to the next pay-per-view that Hogan's not on to buy the pay-per-view and invest in the product.
Yeah. So he obviously defeated him there, but a few months later, he, being DDP and Savage, would compete at the Great American Bash. They squared off again. Anything goes. Lights out match. That match ended with Savage defeating DDP with help from a then tag team champion, Scott Hall. Page even dressed up as a masked wrestler at La Parka and beat Savage on the July 7th edition of Monday Nitro.
Dude, go back and watch that. That shit's great.
Larry, please settle down here. I need to focus what's on to the right. Did you see that? Incredible. He hit him with a diamond cutter. Did you see that? That's not La Parka. That's not La Parka. DDP. Oh, my. That is incredible. He pinned him. Diamond Dallas. And look, Scott Hall. Scott Hall was more concerned with Larry Zbyszko and DDP and WCW won up the NWO. Hey, guys, I'm going to leave now. Please, look at this. When he wakes up, let him know.
Great. He fucking, you thought it was just Savage against La Parka, and he was beating the shit out of La Parka the whole time. and then he went for the elbow, and then La Parka puts up the foot and kicked Savage in the face. And then he stood up and looked at the crowd and hit a diamond cutter. And then the crowd stands up.
Everybody knew.
And then after he pinned Savage, he took the mask off. And the place went fucking insane.
I remember that.
This match was gold. Off. That was an amazing, again, another amazing moment like that Savage allowed to happen. It was fucking.
I was gonna say there's
dude.
I mean, like Randy has to sign off on that, and that's how much trust do you put in DDP? Hey, I'm gonna put a mask on, and I'm gonna be La Parka, and I'm gonna beat you on a TV show, and it's gonna carry us through. And Savage is like, okay, brother, I like it. Like, I mean, not how many people would Savage allow that to happen with?
Yeah, not many.
Maybe a handful. So this continued their feud and set up their final match at Halloween Havoc 1997 in a no DQ match. Savage would get the final pinfall victory after Hogan attacked DDP. You sack of shit. Sorry. I just had to throw that in. It's not in the notes, but we ad-lib here. Page would then take on Hogan in an edition of Nitro, which was considered by many to be Hogan's best match of 1997. Pretty incredible. And at Starrcade 97, Page won the United States Heavyweight Championship from Curt Hennig. Man, Kurt's still working here. It's crazy to think.
He got him! Diamond cutter, get him covered! Covering! Get him covered! 1, 2, new champion! Yes! All right! Let's get the official word from David Penza!
Ladies and gentlemen, the winner of the match, and new WCW United States Heavyweight Champion, Diamond Dallas Page!
Destiny just knocked on the door, Diamond Dallas.
The following year at Uncensored 1998, Page defended the title in a triple threat Falls Count Anywhere contest against Chris Benoit and Raven, putting Raven through a table with the Diamond Cutter to retain the belt there. Page would later lose that title to Raven at Spring Stampede.
I will never forget the clip that's floating around too. It was on MTV. It's how hot WCW was at the time. And DDP was on Total Request Live, I think it was, sitting on a couch, and Raven attacked him on that set. And you saw all the hosts and all that stuff, all the VJs and all that stuff go, holy shit. He hit him with a stop sign or something in the back of the head.
So good.
And knocked DDP out and attacked him on the set. And so that's how over WCW was at the time. And Page. So I encourage a lot of people to go back here too during DDP's US title run and watch his matches against Benoit and Raven. They were good shit. Like, they were really edgy, good stuff. It was really good stuff. Again, DDP, man.
I think we have to have an episode dedicated to Raven soon as well. I think that's
absolutely. I agree with that.
Yeah. Later in the year, Page tagged with Karl Malone against Hulk Hogan and Dennis Rodman at Bash at the Beach of '98, where they would lose due to interference.
The highest, except for Starrcade '97 with Hogan and Sting, the highest rated or highest bought WCW pay-per-view of all time.
Wow. Page then tagged with late night talk show host Jay Leno at Road Wild, where they defeated Hogan and Aaron Bischoff.
That was super lame.
At Fall Brawl, Page won the War Games main event and got a world title shot against the undefeated Goldberg at Halloween Havoc 1998.
We were there live in Vegas.
You guys were jelly. Yep. Page did not win the match, but the match was voted WCW Magazine's Match of the Year in 1998. Halloween Havoc.
He carried Goldberg to a passable match. It was actually a decent match, more than decent. Go back and watch Goldberg, DDP, Halloween Havoc 98. It's good. It's actually good stuff.
Suplex, forget about it. Goldberg's got him up. Goldberg's got him up. Jackhammered him down. 1, 2. It's Goldberg. It's Goldberg.
Oh, he earned that one.
Page did not win that match. I'm sorry, we already have that. Halloween Havoc ran slightly longer than expected, resulting in a number of cable companies blacking out the end of Hogan versus Warrior match and all of the DDP versus Goldberg contest.
They should have blacked out the whole Warrior and Hogan match.
Oh my, yeah, it was bad. I gotta get over, brother. I gotta get my match back, brother. WCW decided to air the Goldberg versus DDP Battle Bout in its entirety on October 26th episode of Nitro. I remember that. You and I talked about that quite a bit, Jess.
Yeah.
Which proved immensely popular in the ratings, resulted in a ratings win for Nitro over Raw, the last win Nitro ever had.
showing DDP versus Goldberg from the night before was the last win that WCW ever had in the ratings. in October of 98.
So, despite the setback in the world title picture, Page rebounded this time, the same following night of Halloween Havoc, on the October 26th episode of Nitro, with a win over Bret Hart to capture the United States heavyweight title. The two headlined the following month's World War III and a title match that Page actually won. Page lost that title to Hart on the November 30th episode of Nitro in a no disqualification match when he was assaulted by Elegante. Sorry, the Giant.
The Giant. So, you know what? Like, again, I know Bret Hart's usage in WCW was frowned upon, but like Bret gave us nuggets. You had a lot of Bret versus Booker, Bret versus Benoit, and Bret versus DDT matches. Yes, they used Bret wrong. I'm not saying they used him right, but dude, you have so many nuggets in WCW 98 where you can go back and watch Bret versus Benoit, like I said, Bret versus Booker T, Bret versus DDP. Go back and watch those matches because even though the booking was a mess, these guys still put quality matches in. They're worth going and watch. And it's part of DDP's legacy. He beat Bret Hart.
Here comes again.
He's just toying with him at this point.
He's got a...
But look at Page fight.
Sharpshooter, now he's got to get to the ropes again, but can he? Come on, Dallas.
Got a long way to go to make it to the ropes this time.
Look at the fight in this man.
Reach down deep.
How does he have the energy left to even try and fight back?
The fans chant DDP. Shut out the pain as best he cannot do it. Pulling the bell, it's over.
He's a human being. He had to.
It's over. Let go of the darn thing. It's over.
It's a weird state of wrestling affairs at this moment where everybody tuned in for what NWO was going to do, but it started to get pretty stale if you go back and watch it now.
Well, yeah, 1998 was like a mess. Well, yeah.
Yeah, but to your point, the nuggets in between that, when you started watching, I mean, there's so much going on here with cruiserweight stuff and obviously DDP. You go back and there's really good shit that you kind of take for granted because you're like, what's NWO going to do?
Well, and the whole every week product was new to us. Now we're used to live shit every week from AEW and WWF and all that stuff. Sure. Back here, it's like, dude, Nitro had to load the shit, and they were starting to lose WWE, so they were like just throwing everything they could, like on Nitro.
Yeah, you're
right. So you got Bret versus DDP on Nitro. You got all kinds of shit. It was crazy.
Well, look at this. I mean, Page became the WCW World Heavyweight Champion at
skipping forward. This is like almost a year later. Yeah.
Yeah. At Spring Stampede, where he defeated Sting, Hogan, and Ric Flair for the title in a four-way dance with Macho Man Randy Savage as special guest referee.
You know, unfortunately, like nobody was ready for this, and I think DDP left for an injury for a while, and then when he came back, like he won the world title. It was weird. Like DDP was so over, and then actually here, I think the fans turned against him. You're going to read on a little bit. So when he first won the world heavyweight title, nobody expected it, and WCW was on a downturn. 1999 was not a good year for WCW.
I think they were just mad at everything at this point.
Yeah, they were just trying desperately to do something new, and unfortunately, his world title reign was not like looked back on in the most positive light. However, he did still win. He was WCW World Heavyweight Champion, DDP, the same guy that broke into the sport when he was in his 30s, the same guy that fucking iced his shit down. It's still an accomplishment for him.
Cookies in the bed sheets.
Yeah, yes. It was still an accomplishment for him. So he beat those guys in a four-way match out of nowhere. DDP, Diamond Cutter Flair.
Yes.
Cutter by Page. He's 1, 2, 3. Oh, we've got a new world champion, guys. And it's DDP. DDP, and he earned it. He fought his tail off. They all did. It's history.
Yeah, so he Diamond Cutter Flair, and it resulted in boos at various events. So shortly after Spring Stampede, the decision was made to turn Page heel for the first time in 3 years. I think it's a good move. The turn played out slowly at first, with Page undergoing a change in attitude. Then on April 19th, Page defended his title against Goldberg, where he cemented the turn by first knocking Goldberg out with brass knuckles. Fantastic. And then propping his leg up against the ring stairs, repeatedly smashing it with a steel chair, all while taunting the fans with the repeated utterances of "Boo me now." I love it. I love all of this. Page only stopped when Kevin Nash, an ally of Hogan's, who was angry at Page for kayfabe injuring Hogan's knee during the match at Spring Stampede, came back from injury and chased him away. I think I can hear DP. Boo me now. I can just hear it. Like, oh, like good for you. Good. You douchebags. You know. Oh, you don't like me now that I won the title? Good. Okay, watch this. Watch this. On April 26th of 1999, Page lost and regained his title in the span of 2 hours. Sting challenged him to defend his title in the first hour of that night's Nitro and defeated him to regain the title he had lost a year earlier.
So, yes, again, go back and watch this match. This match with Sting and DDP was fan-fucking-tastic. Like, it was one of the few bright spots in the 1999 year where WCW was dying. And this match was awesome. Go back and watch the crowd. Go back and watch the match. They were so fucking good. This match was excellent. I'm telling you right now, like, go back and watch this. April 26, 1999, DDP and Sting started the night out with a world title match, and Sting wins the title. It was awesome. It was really good. Really good.
This ended Page's reign at 15 days, but he gained an opportunity to get the title back 90 minutes later. Nash came to the ring and made a challenge for a 4-way match for the title, and the just dethroned Page joined defending champion Sting and Goldberg in the match. Page regained the world title by using a foreign object to hit Nash and take the win, and regain the title without actually defeating the reigning champion.
They were trying to build heel on the heat, or build heat on the heel, yeah.
Yep. Nash became the #1 contender shortly after and vowed to get revenge on Page for his friend Hogan, culminating in a match at Slamboree of 1999 in May of said year. Page originally retained that world championship after Savage interfered and hit Nash, but the match was ordered to continue by Eric Bischoff, and Nash pinned Page to win the title after a powerbomb. Page dropped out of the title picture shortly thereafter. Then, shortly after Sunbury, Page entered into an alliance with fellow New Jerseyan Bam Bam Bigelow and won the WCW World Tag Team Championship from then champions Perry Saturn and Raven on May 31st of same year, thanks to Chris Kanyon churning heel on the former Allied Raven and costing the team the championships.
This kind of gets into a fun little faction here.
Yeah, Page, Bigelow, and Kanyon became known as the Jersey Triad, and through their alliance with WCW President for Life Ric Flair, he took advantage of the free bird rule in their subsequent matches, meaning any combination of the three could defend the championship. The Triad held the titles until June 10th, when Saturn and Chris Benoit, now stablemates in the Revolution, took the titles from them at that time. The group broke up shortly thereafter, and Page began feuding with Hogan again, joining Sid Vicious and Rick Steiner in a team effort to take on Hogan, Sting, and Goldberg. God, it's weird. It's so weird.
Yeah, no, WCW was on a spiral down here. It was all bad.
Wow.
Like, everything after this point is just terrible.
Yeah, soon after that,
not because of DDP, not because.
No, I get you. It's just like thinking it's Hogan as a face at that moment is weird to me. Soon after that feud, Page churned into a hero again and feuded with both Kanyon and Bigelow before the year ended. But in 2000, WCW was under new management. Page earned a shot at the vacant World Heavyweight Championship belt at Spring Stampede against Jeff Jarrett. In a surprise twist, Page's wife Kimberly turned on Page and helped Jarrett become the new world champion. Page got the better of Jarrett on the April 24th episode of Nitro, where he defeated Jarrett in a steel cage match to become the WCW World Heavyweight Champion for a third time, and then lost the title to his tag partner, actor David Arquette. 3 days later on Thunder, the rules stated that whoever got the pin would win the title, and Arquette pinned Jarrett's partner, Eric Bischoff.
Yes, folks. DDP was part of the whole David Arquette debacle. Yes.
And we call it a debacle, but I got to tell you, we go back and we watch the love that Arquette has provided, and I kind of feel bad for the guy in hindsight.
Oh, no, I agree with you. I agree with you on this, too.
Yeah.
But like at the time, like, this was just...
You're like, what the hell's going on? But then
WCW was dying. In 2000, they were dying.
And honestly, David Arquette, I don't think wanted to do this, but it was kind of forced
No, he didn't.
Him.
He said he didn't want to do it.
Yeah, so...
And I believe he donated all his money he earned from WCW at this time to charity.
Yeah, he really didn't want to do this, but they did it anyway, and he's kind of the martyr in that role. But Page attempted to win the title back at Slamboree later that month in a triple cage match against Arquette and Jarrett, but lost after Arquette hit him with a guitar. That seems to be somebody else's gimmick, but that's okay. Page then entered a feud with Mike Awesome, who defeated him in an ambulance match. That's a fantastic term. At the Great American Bash, after Canyon turned on Page. Page then took some time off shortly after this, but he returned in the late 2000s as a full-time wrestler. Page came back. He formed a tag team with Kevin Nash and the Insiders, and the team won the Tag Team Championship on November 26th at Mayhem by defeating the Perfect Event, Sean Stasiak and Chuck Palumbo. I remember Palumbo.
The Perfect Event. That's wow.
That's good stuff. Page briefly feuded with the returning Canyon, which saw Canyon defeat Page at Super Bowl Revenge. Such a weird term. And Page defeating Canyon in the following night on Nitro, thus ending their feud. Page then moved to the World Championship picture again by facing Scott Steiner. Their feud hit a climax at WCW's final pay-per-view. Greed saw Page's final match at WCW in a semi-burial type defeat as he passed out, and the Steiner's finisher, the Steiner Recliner. Okay. Whew. WWF run for just a year, but there's a lot here, so let's get into it. When WCW was purchased by WWF owner Vince McMahon in 2001, Diamond Dallas Page was one of the few major WCW stars, along with Booker T and Buff Bagwell, who accepted buyouts of their AOL Time Warner contracts in order to immediately sign with Vincent Kennedy McMahon. He debuted in the World Wrestling Federation on June 18th of 2001.
And this was just an example, Dave, of how he was always willing to take risks. Like we talked about him moving to Atlanta from New Jersey. We talked about him moving to Florida. We talked about him giving it up and being a wrestler. And this is just another example of him letting him take the buyout so he can wrestle and take a small cut and a small salary from WWF just to wrestle. Like, that's DDP.
I think he knew his time was short anyway. And he's like, if I still want to do what I love, I'll
absolutely
take
true.
that. And I think he loved what he did. And he didn't sit back and take the money for a year or 2 years, right? So kind of speaks to the man, right? He did debut. So on June 28, 2001, episode of Raw, he unveiled himself as the stalker of The Undertaker's wife, Sarah. That's weird. Page revealed he didn't care about Sarah. He only did it to make an impact and wanted to take on the biggest dog in the yard. At King of the Ring, he fought The Undertaker in an unsanctioned brawl that was never announced as an official match. Kind of interesting. On the July 5th episode of SmackDown, Page competed against WCW Heavyweight Champion Booker T, but failed to win the title after a distraction from The Undertaker. Then on a July 9th episode of Raw, WCW owner Shane McMahon and ECW owner Paul Heyman joined together to create the Alliance, with former WCW and ECW alumni joining forces in an attempt to take over control of the WWF.
I always thought Page should have debuted separately. When he revealed himself as a stalker and he took the mask off on Raw, the place went nuts. Like, DDP was over. You know, Vince at this point, when he won the war, was in the stage where he was like, we're going to break you down and we're going to build you back up the WWF way. And unfortunately, DDP fell victim to that.
It really sucked. I feel VK Evans at the head of this table with a big bowl of pasta, and he's just like, yeah, we'll just whatever. We won. Like he's just eating off the blood of everybody else. I mean, it's dirty as hell, and he's gonna do whatever he wants. Like, I'm the king. Like, I don't even know how to say
it's really true.
You know, like, I'm gonna do whatever I want. I won. Like, and DDP gets caught in the, you're gonna be a stalker. Okay. All right, bro. Whatever you say, you're the man. You won. And then history.
And in his mind, he's like, well, at least I'm going to feud with The Undertaker.
DDP is always going to turn a negative into a positive no matter what. So,
the
Invasion pay-per-view, Page formed Part of Team Alliance alongside Booker T, Rhino, and the Dudley Boys, defeating Team WWF after Team WWF member Stone Cold Steve Austin turned on his team mid-match. Didn't he walk out? I can't remember what he did there.
Yeah, I can't remember either.
Yeah,
he might have walked out. I think he walked out.
He walked out. Took his ball and went home, as we'd say. On the August 9th taping of SmackDown, Paige and Kenya defeated the APA to win the WWF Tag Team Championship. Pretty cool. And then his feud with The Undertaker culminated when Undertaker and Kane defeated Paige and Canyon at SummerSlam on August 19, 2001. And a steel cage match where they took that WWF Tag Team Championship off of them at that moment. During the match, Paige was injured, keeping him out of action until late October 2001. While he was injured, he developed a new gimmick in which he became a motivational speaker. The character involved Paige constantly smiling and acting optimistic with the trademark phrase, "That's not a bad thing. That's a good thing."
I remember when they first did that, it didn't work. And everybody was like, oh, this is going to suck. And then he did one vignette where a bunch of women were aerobicizing and they were bending over and it showed like their thong butts. And he came up in the middle. He's like, "Hi, it's DDP." And instantly, like, people popped, and like DDP found a way to get that shit over. So they
make that crowd.
They were mocking him in the back by saying he's so ridiculously positive. He's so everyone you talk to would say DDP is so ridiculously positive. So they said, why don't we make a thing where you're like positively Paige? And he rode with it, and it worked. And they didn't put a lot of effort into it, but because of DDP, he got it over, which shows the talent of him. He's great.
Yeah, man.
He's great. That's why we're doing this episode.
His return televised match was on November 3rd at Rebellion, losing to Big Show. After the Alliance lost at Survivor Series, Paige, along with the rest of the Alliance members and Kayfabe, lost their jobs. Paige eventually returned as a face and won his job back by defeating Big Boss Man. Wow. On the January 27th, 2002 episode of SmackDown. Holy shnikes. I didn't know he was still working there. Paige competed in the Royal Rumble match at the, what is that?
January 20th event.
Yeah,
it was on January 20th. Don't just skip the word, Dave. I have no idea.
He said
I cut and pasted it and you caught me. You caught me.
All right, buddy. Okay. All right, we'll get back to that later. Paige became the WWF European Champion on the July 31st, 2002 episode of SmackDown when he defeated Christian, a former follower of his positive philosophy. At WrestleMania 18, Paige successfully retained in a rematch against Christian. However, he did lose the title to William Regal on the episode of SmackDown. That
go back and watch the WrestleMania 18 match against Christian. It was actually very good, and like a lot of critics were like, "Oh my god, like these guys actually did really well together." Like, so go back and watch the European title match, DDP defending the title against Christian. It was very good at WrestleMania 18, and DDP again will tell you all about it because he was proud of it. He was like, "Dude, I got put on WrestleMania. I got a chance to do it." It was his first and only WrestleMania match. Yeah, and he did.
Wasn't it Toronto?
Yes, it was in Canada.
So
yeah,
it was an absolute like full circle from WrestleMania 6 when he drove the car in Skydome.
It was,
and
in
then
Skydome,
in 18 he gets to fulfill his dream and fucking wrestle Christian, who can go in WrestleMania.
Yep,
GDP
and who was Canadian on top of that.
GDP is so proud of you and now, Craig. Nice work.
Very good job.
Dug out the dirt. Yep. There you go.
You're right.
That's good stuff. On March 25th, Paige was drafted to the SmackDown brand as part of the 2002 WWF Draft Lottery. I'm so happy when those happen. On April 18th episode of SmackDown, he sustained a serious neck injury during our match with Hardcore Holly after botching a superplex. After receiving opinions from multiple doctors, Paige announced his retirement in June of 2002. He left the promotion soon after. So that's a tough bang for him.
And he was an older guy. No matter how much he took care of himself, he was an older guy.
Yeah.
And let's go ahead and let's just do the math. So 2002, that was 19 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
And in 88, he was 32. So he, what is he?
In his 40s, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Mid 40s, right?
Yeah.
Early 40s,
Late 40s.
Yeah. It's kind of incredible when you think about it. I mean, there's others that have done it. Hogan and Flair wrestled well into it, but I don't think they were doing the work that DDP was doing at those ages. And granted, DDP did start later. You know,
he was probably 46 at this time.
Yeah,
Yeah,
in 2002.
Fair. So we got some miscellaneous promotions and then his final retirement. He signed with TNA, where he would debut for the company on November 12th, taping of Impact, where he attacked Raven. There you go. Beginning a feud between those two there.
Is TNA a real thing or is that like a joke?
Oh my God.
Non-stop action.
Stop it.
Wait, what?
So Dave, honestly, to save time, like I'm not trying to shit on like anything he did in TNA. He was there for a little bit. He wrestled a lot of guys.
He defeated Raven, right?
Yeah, you could skip a lot of shit, like if you want to.
Yeah. Paige and Brown, they formed
because it was a short stay. I don't mean to disrespect TNA, but it was a short
you're
stay.
good.
Yeah.
The following month against all odds, Paige and Brown defeated Team Canada, which was Bobby Roode and Eric Young. Just think about those names on the way up. We got Robert Roode and Eric Young wrestling DDP at this point in TNA. That's some big names that are around the world right now. Paige did receive a title shot for the NWA side on March 13th, but he was defeated by Jeff Jarrett when Brown turned heel and hit Paige with the pounce. Okay. Maybe that's a purse. I don't know what that is.
I don't know either.
Huh?
I don't know either.
Paige team with BG James and Waltman to defeat Jeff Jarrett, Monty Brown, and the Outlaw and Lethal Lockdown match. It's just he left shortly thereafter in order to pursue some acting work. On March 31st, 2017, Paige was finally inducted to the WWE Hall of Fame in Orlando, Florida. I felt like that was not that long ago. We were clamoring for Paige for years to be inducted.
Yeah. It was only 4 years ago.
It's 4 years ago. The COVID environment, you don't realize how long you've been shut in. But Are you guys ready to get into some championships and achievements? Let's do it. So Pro Wrestling Illustrated said feud of the year in 1997 with Randy Savage. That's pretty impressive. Most hated wrestler of the year in 99. Most improved wrestler of the year in 1995. Ranked number 4 in the top 500 singles wrestlers of the year. PWI 500 in 1997 and 98. Wow. Ranked number 65 in the top 500 single wrestlers in PWI years in 2003. In WCW, he won the championship there 3 times. He was the World Television Championship 1 time. He was the United States Champion twice. He was the WCW World Tag Team Champion 4 times with Bam Bam Bigelow and Chris Kanyon. That was, 2 apiece there, and because they were doing the free rules. Yeah, and then Kevin Nash 2 times as well. He was 4th WCW Triple Crown Champion and Lord of the Ring Tournament in 96. Then in WWE, he won the European Championship. He won the Tag Team Championships with Chris Kanyon, and he is in the Hall of Fame class of 2017, like we talked about. And then the Wrestling Observer newsletter, whatever they say. They have the best wrestling maneuver in 1997 with the Diamond Cutter. Most improved in 96. Worst gimmick in 2001.
What?
Fuck you, Meltzer.
What was that?
The positively page that it's not a bad thing, it's a good thing. No, it was just. I'm sorry, it was a stalker. It was a stalker.
Oh, the stalker makes sense. I'll give him that. If you're trying to sell me bad thing, good thing. But that is the DDP episode, ladies and gentlemen.
Yeah, you know what? And I know
did a lot in a short time, man.
Dave, you wanted to fire it along or whatever, but really, now I'll speak on the legacy of him. It's like you talked earlier because I know you want to talk about DDP Yoga and what he's done with DDP Yoga. If you guys don't know what that is, fucking look it up. Look it up on Google.
Yeah,
he took when he first hurt his neck before he won the world title in '99. His wife Kimberly said, "Why don't you do yoga with me?" He's like, yoga, that's for women. I'm not gonna do that. And she's like, no, you just got out of neck surgery. If you want to come back to wrestling at your age, watch what I do. So he watched her do movements, and he's like, wait a minute, maybe if I tense my muscles and do high resistance, I could convert yoga moves into this other form. And he created DDP Yoga from watching Kimberly in 1999 show him do this stuff. You will stretch your scars out. You'll stretch all your it'll be a lot easier for your
the scar tissue.
Yeah. So he did that. He created DDP Yoga in 99 in his brain. And then after he left WCW, he started putting it into fruition and started getting funding and started copywriting shit or whatever. And to this day, go and look up DDP Yoga. He has saved people's lives. People who have had disabilities, who have been grossly overweight, has lost hundreds of pounds through his DDP yoga methods and healthy eating methods. He's always been a big proponent of eating healthy and not putting poisons in your body and all that stuff. And DDP is a hero, and he is a guy, and I'm not saying that to be corny, he really is. He's a guy that is saving these guys who had no health insurance back in the day, and they're just suffering. He has saved Jake Roberts. He has saved Scott Hall. He got them sober. He got them to lose some weight from DDP yoga and to, reclaim their fucking sobriety and their health. And
for you fans of today that love, what's going on in AEW and you love the Chris Jericho project, Chris Jericho wouldn't be in the ring right now without DDP. His back was so massively damaged.
Yeah, people make fun of Jericho for having a gut right now. I'm like, he's fucking injured, by the way, and he's just hanging on there trying to do DP yoga and trying to stay in shape or whatever. Like his
back was so damaged that he was done for a moment, and DDP yoga got him back into the ring, and now he's headlining AEW. His contract, everything started AEW on a massive level. It wouldn't have gotten off the ground without him, which means it wouldn't have gotten out of the ground without DDP yoga. So you're welcome, AEW fans. That's what I would say.
It's true.
I mean, I'm just
Craig, what would you like to say on DDP? What do you feel?
Just a guy that did whatever he set it in his mind to do and did it. And he did it. He's an inspiration to people who you're never too old to do something. So go write that book if you're 30 years old. Go to that wrestling school if you're 34. It doesn't matter. Life is about relationships. It's about taking that chance. It's about jumping and the net will appear. Like DDP is emblematic of all of that. Like, he had great chances in life, and that's where luck meets opportunity, where he ran nightclubs and met wrestlers. And
that's what you do, man.
He was in Florida where he got to talk to wrestlers, and he had a gift of gab and a gift of relationships. And at the end of the day, there's been no one like him to start that late at 35 and win a world championship at 44 or whatever it was, and to still look fantastic. The dude's, he was born in 56. He's 65 now. Watch an interview with him now at 65 and his DDP yoga, which was formerly Yoga for Guys. Like, he's, to Jess's point, he's changed millions of lives, as he should, and he's reinvented himself. He's not a saint. Like, he's a dude that did nightclubs and wrestled, and he's probably got a dark side, but like
three marriages, and I'm not shitting on anybody.
Yeah, right. But between Jake Robertson and his entire relationship between all the locker rooms that say how good he treats people and how he's positive, like
everybody's compliment that it's like a half joke. They're like, DDP is so just disgustingly positive about everything.
Yes.
Jake Roberts said that. Scott Hall says that. Yeah.
His karma is in good shape, and he's an inspiration to all of us. Like, just chase your dreams and be positive and don't let anything get in your way. And if anyone taught us that, it's DDP. Yeah, and lived it. Like,
thank you, DDP, Dave. I know this ran long, but it's wonderful. Yeah,
he's great. Not as long as we thought. For audio fans, give us a listen on Apple, Spotify, SoundCloud, iHeartRadio, Stitcher, and Google Podcast, or watch our videos on YouTube at Our Wrestling Channel. Could you do us a favor on social media and give us a follow on Instagram or Twitter at O.W.P 2019, or check us out on Facebook at Our Wrestling Podcast. This is Dave, Jess, and Craig with the O.W.P signing off. Have a good one.